Good morning. Good morning. It is 2:55 a.m. I'm on my way to the gym to get my day started. There's no better way to conquer the second and third and fourth part of a day than by controlling it, by waking up, by getting some exercise out the way, and by treating yourself to a good mind-body experience. When I got in the car this morning, I remember it was either Malachi or it was Ricky. It was either my wife or my son that said they wanted to get a book. And I said, okay. I said, well, that's a pretty good book. And in my mind, I'm thinking, when do you have time to read the book? And I think you should always make time to read. I think reading stimulates the mind. But in my mind, I'm thinking there's a lot going on, but taking in the additional information is beneficial. So I applaud that. And I say, are you opposed to listening to audiobooks? Because I have a lot of audiobooks. I'm listening to one right now. I listen to a different one every single day. Are you opposed to audiobooks? And I knew what the answer was. And the reason why I knew what the answer was is because when somebody approached me about audiobooks, I had the same thinking. So I asked the question anyways, because I want to know if we've evolved as people, or do we pretty much think the same way? And I believe both their answers was, yeah, I'm not doing audiobook. I much rather read it. I said, okay. I said, the benefit of an audiobook is that it allows you to absorb the information inside of this book while you're working out, while you're driving, while you're taking a stroll, while you're laying in the bed, getting ready to go to sleep. It allows you to absorb the information. Now, here's the catch. The reason why I knew that the response was going to be no, I don't do audiobook, is because I remember when I first was approached about audiobooks, I felt like it was cheating. I felt like if I wanted to get the full extent of what the book, whether it's a regular literature book, or it's a textbook, or it's a spiritual book, or it's a mind, body, soul type of book, I used to think that it was cheating if I absorbed information in that capacity. And the reason why I thought it was cheating was because I thought that everything worth having came at a price where I had to sacrifice some time. Now, we're talking about reading. We're not talking about, hey, can I trust you with $1 million? We're talking about, hey, you've already conquered 90% of the battle just by stepping up to the plate and saying, I want to learn something else. I think that in itself is enough. But finding the time to read it, to sit down, to be able to absorb it, to quiet the room down, however you need the situation, the surroundings to be in order to make it a perfect situation for you to read, could prevent you from getting the information that you need versus just going to an audiobook. But that was my thought process too. It took me a long time to finally grow into that situation. But it was at the point where I said, it's more important that I retain or I get the content versus should I read or should I just listen to somebody reading it out loud? See, you have to use discretion. See, I don't believe that bypassing the process is always the best thing to do. But when we're talking about how we can obtain information, well, we can go read a whole big old long industrial sized textbook, or we can ask somebody who's been working in that field for 20 years. Not only will those individuals give you the gist of what you need to know, but they'll also give you some new world information. And how many people apply that same technique or theory to their other parts of their life? I know the biggest thing in our house was, I don't need to go to church to get God. God is everywhere. That's the story they were telling themselves. Forsake not the assembly. Yeah, God is everywhere. But are you assembling with other people who believe? How many times have we tried to bypass the things that we needed the process? Avoided things that required process? And I'm talking about everything. I'm talking about even when you making strides and changes in your own personal life, how there will be a breakdown and disruption inside the family dynamic just because you're bringing something new to the table. You're bringing something different. But not everything has to have that kind of process attached to it. You'll know it. You'll know it. You'll know when there's a process attached to the thing that you're supposed to be doing. Because it won't come easy. It won't come without pitfalls. It won't come without disturbances. It won't come without failure. But funny how we will forego the process on some things. But as simple as reading a book or listening to an audiobook, oh no, I need that hardback book in my hand. I have to feel those pages flipping. I'm busy as all get out. I don't have no time. So what are you doing? Are you lining up your next excuse? Hey, how's that new book come along? Yeah, I haven't had a chance to read it. I've been busy. You know, you could have downloaded the audiobook and no, you could have just been listening to it in your car. Yeah, no, that's not going to work for me. I need to flip through the book. Well, it's the same book. They're just reading it out loud. Yeah, but and I don't knock that. I'm not knocking it. I'm just poking a little bit of fun at it. That's it. I'm not knocking it. I'm just poking some fun at it, because the things that we choose to try to avoid the process are typically the ones where we need to go through the process. And then the ones where we want to go through the process are typically the ones that we are just lining up the excuse for why we didn't do it. And so you don't need a process for reading a book unless you're telling yourself, I'm committed to sitting down every single day and reading 1 hour. Okay, well then you have to carve out that 1 hour. But if you're saying, hey, I just want to process this information, I can tell you. But is it the physical book in your hand that's allowing you to feed yourself the excuse on why you haven't moved forward on reading it? You see how the mind plays? See the games it plays? And it's very simple. You'll know what requires a process. It's no different than a college course. If you already knew Spanish, but you need to get the Spanish credit, why wouldn't you just clip out of it? Pay the $150, take the test. That's it. Unless you need a refresher. That's really it. Not everything requires the same level of attention. Not everything requires the same level of thinking. Not everything requires a level of process. But in how you do one thing is how you do all things. So everything requires a level of commitment. So don't get process and commitment confused. Because the process required with getting ahead in life is different than the process required for reading a book. The commitment is the same. You want the information. You want to get to the top. But the process is different. Don't use one to cover up for the other. And don't use one to make an excuse for the other. It's as simple as that.